I'm Claire from Creative the Ottaway. I'm an independent demonstrator for Stampin' Up! Here in the UK. Thank you for joining me today. Something a little bit different. We're just going to talk about blending brushes today and have a little play. So I thought we could do that together. So if you go and grab yourself a sheet of basic white, just an A4 sheet and a blending brush, and we can have a play around and see what we can do. So your A4 sheet, you're going to be cutting it into 6. So you're going to cut it on the short side at 4.1, and that will cut it in half. Okay. And then we're going to cut each side into 3. So if you just do that at 4 inches, and you should get 3 pieces from each side. Okay, they're roughly the same. And this side, so that should give you 6 pieces in total. And we can have a practice with messing about with the inks. So Stampin' Up! Inks are water-based, which is a good thing. Means you can do quite a lot of different things with them. But these blending brushes are new to Stampin' Up! They're really sensory, as in they feel just so soft on your skin. You can clean them off very easily with your chamois. Just clean it on there. Because they're water-based inks, they'll just wipe off. You can wet the brush and clean them off. But just remember to leave them to dry overnight, because it will take a little while to dry. I don't tend to clean mine off that much. What I have got is I've got some brushes that are very similar that I had before Stampin' Up! Brought theirs out, and I've got one for each colour. So I've used one for blues, one for purples, one's for reds, all sorts of things like that. So I don't tend to actually clean them off completely. I just wipe them on some spare paper before I put them away. But we'll talk about that as we go along. So what can you do with blending brushes? So the first thing we are going to do, I'm going to choose an ink. I've got Misty Moonlight. It's one of the in colour range from Stampin' Up! And I need a block as well. And I'm going to use my silicone sheet just to put under my piece of paper, because that will stop it moving about quite so much. So again, Stampin' Up! Do these silicone sheets. It's just a perfect little size for a sample, and that just stops your paper moving around and you can get ink everywhere. Okay, so I've got my brush. Now, how do I get some ink on there? You can just put it straight in and just brush it around, and that will get some ink on there. I have tended to find that when I do that with my Stampin' Up! Ink pads, it does make them go dry in some areas. So what I do now is I put some on the block like that, and I use that as my palette. Can you see? So you still get as much ink on, but also you're not wasting any ink and you're not getting covered in ink. You can see how pleasing that is. Look, that's just nice in itself. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to add a spot of ink. So this is useful if you've got a really nice flower, or you want to make something stand out on your card. So you've dipped it in the ink, you've got some on there, you're just lightly doing a circular movement, and you're just going round and round and round, and you see I've not added any more ink, but as I go round I'm starting to press harder and harder, and that just gives you a nice spot like that on your card. Now that's really handy. If I show you one of the cards I've got that I've made up, that I've used that technique on. So this is one. Can you see I've done the spot behind and then layered it up with some die cut flowers and some greenery, and that's just given the background that little bit of a burst. So that's when I would use a spot technique. So the second technique that I think I would like to show you is how to blend from one end. So sometimes we all get a bit carried away and we blend the whole thing. You can, so notice I'm just using the ink that's there. I've not had to add any more ink. You can just do one side. You don't have to do the whole thing. What I will do here is I will start off the paper, again doing it gently and just doing circular movements, and I will just go up and down the paper. Now it's up to you how far across the page you go and how much ink you pick up, but just give it a go and just keep doing those circular movements. Now I quite like a dark edge along here, just to show that I have put some ink on. So I just go over that edge. I'm not going any further over because I don't want it to go any further. And that would be good for a sky or for a sea or for land. Depends which way round you have it. Could be anything. Could be a night sky. There's lots of techniques that you can use where you can tear some paper and section pieces off. But I just wanted to show you that even if you just did some brushing on the edge, that's enough to highlight on your card. So here's a card that I've done with that technique, and I've just done it from the bottom up and just added a stamped image on the top. So that's just with one colour. Okay, so the next one I'm going to show you is with 2 or 3 colours. So it's the same sort of technique. So we're going to get the other colours, so let's get those first. So I've got Seaside Spray, okay, and I'm going to put that there as well because I will be able to see what colour it is. I've got Misty Moonlight, and then I've also got Blueberry Bushel. Okay. So I've got 3 colours. I think I'm going to have it that way round. Now, I've obviously got blue on there. I've got Misty Moonlight on there. I'm going to clean that off just so that I can start with a lighter colour. Okay. So, wipe that off so it's all clean. So the first one was the Seaside Spray, so I'm going to put it in there a bit. You can barely see it. Just going to make sure there's no the dark one on there. Can you see some's coming off? So I'm just rubbing on a scrap piece of paper to get some of the darker blue off. Once it starts coming clean, like that, I'm going to put some of this light. So I am just going to go round in circles on this side, and you can just about see that there's a very light colour on the edge. Now I haven't come in from the outside, I've just come there because I don't want a sharp line down the edge. So if I can show you that. Now I'm not cleaning anything, I'm just going straight to the next colour and put that on the same. And again, I'm just going to move in slightly and lightly do some circles to the next colour. I think this was blueberry bushel, wasn't it? So that just goes to the next colour, and you're just going round in circles, and you've got a light to a slightly darker. Not cleaning anything again, going to Misty Moonlight, and I'm going to use some of that, and again I'm going to come in here and just doing a circular movement again, and you can see ever so slightly there's a variant in the colours. Now I've used all blue here, mainly so that I don't have to clean the brushes off in between to show you, but I've got a card here where I've used 2 purples and then an orange, just to give that some more detail. So I've gone really dark here with Blackberry Bliss, I've gone to Gorgeous Grape there, and then I've got Bumblebee at the top, and that just gives you that pattern as well. So just to contrast the differences in those. Okay. Now, so that's sort of background-ish. What else can we use? How about a stencil? So let me just clean this off again. So what could we use for a stencil? So you could make your own stencil. So Stampin' Up have this medallion die, okay, which makes a lovely stencil. So if I put that on there, and you also get double use by using a die. So if I was to put this over the top, okay, roughly in the middle, and I think I use these 3 colours again, or 2 of them anyway. So I've got a light blue to start with, which is the Sea Soft spray. I'll just make sure I've got some of that darkness off of there. Okay, now you might, if you were organised, not like me, you could tape this down with washi tape, but I'm just going to show you a bit of an effect. So I've picked a spot and I'm just going round in a circle. So what's happening is the ink is going on my die cut, but it's also going underneath, and that's what I mean by you get 2 cards. So I'm just going to put some of the darker on there now, and I'm going to reline that up like that, and I'm going to put that somewhere else. So you could use this like the spotlight technique and just have it in one area, or if you were to keep going over the whole thing, you can do it in different shades. You could cover your whole card, so not only would your die cut be coloured, but also your background would be coloured. So if I show you one I made earlier, so that's what I would stick to a card, and that's what I would use on another card. So here we've got this card where I've used the die cut, and I've done it in different shades of green, and I've added some butterflies and some of the Forever Phone greenery and a ribbon. And then this one is what is on my card, and I will use that as a background for another card. So double use of that stencil. The other thing you could do is just use part of the stencil, so a bit like we have here, we've just highlighted a certain area. Okay, Stampin' Up have got some really lovely stencils for sale. They've got 4 in a pack, and I've used them ever such a lot. I think they're only something like about £5 as well. So you've got this one, which is a bit like Fleur de Lis. I'll show you that. You've got this one, which is a bit like leaves or vines. you've got this spot one, which is really handy. And then you've got this great tree background, which again, I absolutely love. So you've got that one as well. So if I show you what I've done with that. So I took a piece of a die cut shape, a rectangle, and I've literally just laid the stencil over the top. Oh, not that one, the fleur-de-lis one. And then I've blended over the top of that, and it's left me with that pattern, which really looks quite striking and is great for a background on the card. So an example of that would be this one here. So I've done the leaf pattern on this one and just layered up the flowers on the top, but it just lifts the card and gives it an extra depth. The other thing that I just wanted to show you or talk to you about was you can also do that with the Versa ink. So you could place the stencil over your piece of paper and get the ink pad, just put it all over with the holes, and that becomes, when you heat emboss it, that becomes raised like this, can you see? And that gives you a background as well. You just blend around your embossed pieces. And last but not least is a bit of brush mark, but in certain areas. So here I've done blackberry bliss along here and then done the rest with Night of Navy. But what I've first done is punched out a post-it note circle and placed that on, and then just carefully brushed all around to give me some moonlight. So I hope that has inspired you. If you've got any questions, just get in touch. Thanks for watching. Bye.